What's up, gamers? I was invited by PolySypher to take part of an experiment where I would play as the Skull Merchant against a gamer Swift. The intent of this experiment was for me to purposefully find and hold a 3-gen, while Poly's squad of survivors, with over 15,000 hours in the game, would do their best to break it. Could it be done? We did this experiment 4 times across 4 different maps. In order, those maps were Wrecker's Yard, which was chosen by me, Midwich Elementary School, decided by all of us for the challenge, Badham Preschool, which we allowed the game to just randomly choose, and finally Coal Tower, which was chosen by them, the Survivor Squad. The loadout that I chose was Call O'Brien for gen regression, Overcharge, again for gen regression, Fearmonger, to mostly help rule out Sprint Burst and Dead Hard, and Sloppy Butcher, for when they had to leave the area to heal, it would take longer, giving more time for my gen regression perks to eat at gen progress. My add-ons were Brown Noise Generator, which makes survivors within an active drone zone oblivious, and Vital Targeting Processor, which makes the drone's lock-on mechanic, the exposed effect, happen 10% faster. Their loadouts varied with each trial as to who brought what, but the perks they chose were Potential Energy, Prove Thyself, Friendly Competition, Hyperfocus, Stakeout, and Repressed Alliance. To also help heal quickly, they brought a Boon Circle of Healing as well as Will Make It. The items they brought were Commodious Toolboxes with Speed and Charges add-ons, as well as Medkits with Speed and Charges add-ons. There really wasn't any additional rules with the exception of, and I'm assuming as I wasn't part of the conversation, brand new parts. Since the environment was known, I can only guess that it was decided that having everyone stack a brand new part to rip through a generator went against the integrity of the experiment. After all, even knowing the parameters of the experiment, you still want to see to it that it's as quote-unquote real world as possible. Now, I'm not just going to show you the raw gameplay, not only because I wasn't streaming or recording it, but really, who wants to watch that? We all know that a 3-gen match against the Skull Merchant is extremely boring. It's also not particularly fun to play. With that said, I can only imagine that it wouldn't be top-tier content worth watching. Instead, what I decided to do was combine and narrate a few minutes of gameplay while also discussing the update that Behavior's releasing next week to address the issues the community has with the Skull Merchant. We'll get back to that. So what I would like to do here is give a little bit of insight as to what my mindset was as the Skull Merchant given this clip. As we can see, Poly has just been unhooked, and what's going through my head right now is that I need to go and replace the drone that's protecting this generator that's here right by the hook that got removed once I hooked Poly. So that is what my primary focus is as of right now.
You know, I don't really see any way of genuinely doing it. Yeah, again, if maybe we had enough potential energy.
So it might be hard to see me, but I am off in the distance there, back at the generator that's near the shack, having just chased the Meg off of the generator, getting a hit on her, and then again leaving her to again continue patrolling my 3-gen scenario. As we can see here, Poly is going to be going up to this drone to disable it, and I'm going to see this happening, so the first thing that I'm going to do is pursue it. Not to get a down on Poly again. 1, I don't want to tunnel him out of the game. 2, I have no interest on getting the down there. My main focus is on putting the drone back up on the gen, which is exactly what you're going to see happen. Remember, my main focus was to replace the drone that was removed once I hooked Polly over by that other generator, and that's exactly what I went to go do, and chased Yui off of it in the meantime. I'm going to notice here that Polly is exposed, and in the same time, I'm going to see that he's trying to hack my drone, so I'm going to come by and try to put a stop to it. He pulls off a really good dead hard here and then proceeds to run into the shack, and I do not take the chase. What you're going to see next is Polly is, after vaulting through the window into shack, he's going to vault the downed pallet, leaving shack, probably in anticipation of me continuing to chase him. What's actually going to happen when the update goes live is after he vaults this pallet, it is going to be destroyed because he's currently wearing a claw trap. So even though I did not pursue him in chase, after he vaults this pallet, it breaks, I get rid of that pallet for free. Before I get too ahead of myself here, I want to go back and look at something. Do you guys remember when I first started the chase with Polly, because I saw him exposed and getting ready to hack my drone? That is a situation that after the update is not going to be allowed to happen, because if a survivor is wearing a claw trap, any survivor wearing a claw trap is within a drone zone, that drone becomes unhackable. He would not even have been able to make the attempt.
At the end of the day, well, I guess we're making a little bit of progress, sure, you know? But I don't know if it'll be enough. We need to get potential on this fucking gen right here.
Carrying on with things that are going to change once the update comes out next week, here we see Yui getting ready to hack the drone that is covering this generator. This is not something that's going to be able to happen next week because, as you can see, both Dwight and Rebecca have claw traps on them. Because they have claw traps on them, despite the fact that Yui doesn't have a claw trap on her at all, this drone is going to be unhackable. So there's literally nothing that they can do about it. So Dwight and Rebecca are free to sit on this gen, but if they continue to do that, they are going to become exposed. There's just no getting around that, because as long as somebody with a claw trap is within the drone zone, you cannot get rid of that drone.
We don't have enough time.
It's also worth mentioning that at this point, I currently have 2 people with claw traps on them. This means that I currently have, per the update that's about to come out, a 5% haste buff, which means I move 5% faster throughout the map. Now, keep in mind, I'm not across the map here. I'm already planted within my 3-gen. So to even get from the farthest point of my 3-gen to where they were on that generator would take literally no time at all. And given the fact that they're just going to have to eat that exposed, I'm probably going to end up with 1 or possibly even 2 downs. That's going to lead to hooks. If that doesn't lead to hooks, or if I don't want to take the time to hook them, then I can just leave them on the ground, and I can go and continue to make sure that my 3-gen is stable. So, in addition to having 1 or 2 players out of commission, and my generators continuing to regress, the team now has to waste more time to unhook their teammates or pick them up off the ground, and this just further diminishes their odds of escaping this situation alive. Alright, well, what are my final thoughts on all this? To let you know the final outcome, I was able to either kill them all, or they gave up because they realized there was, breaking the 3-gen, boredom set in, and death was inevitable. No loadout made a difference, no map made a difference, and, well, basically, I think it's best if I just let PolySypher sum it up for you.
To be honest, it's almost actually genuinely fucking impossible. Genuinely actually fucking impossible. If they really truly do just set up at 5 gens. Like this.
Thanks again, Polly. It was a lot of fun. I know that we really didn't talk a lot about the experiment, and that it was more of a mashup of explaining my process, along with an explanation of what to expect and what would be different once the update drops. This is mostly due to the fact that I didn't have footage from my own perspective. However, I have already talked to PolySypher, and we intend on recreating this experiment after the update drops. I'll be sure to be recording that and really give the experiment recap justice. Regarding my thoughts on the update, I honestly don't think it's going to change anything, at least with regards to the 3-gen playstyle. Make no mistake, however, I do think the changes are good. I do think they will make the Skull Merchant feel better to play. With Claw Traps granting haste buffs and a base kit Disillusion perk, she's bound to feel at least a little better in chase, along with being a little more mobile, even if situationally. Will it be enough to make people start playing the Skull Merchant and not automatically 3-gen? I doubt it. If people want to play that way, they're going to play that way, and I don't see how this update will stop them. Her changes might even make it more lethal. And hey, in that case, at least the match will be over in 30 minutes as opposed to an hour. Maybe. I'd like to give a special shout out and thank you to PolySypher for allowing me to take part in his experiment and also allowing me to use his footage. Please check out the description. You will see a link to PolySypher's VOD if you're interested in watching the full experiment from his point of view. Also, there will be a link to all of his content. After all, if you're not immersing yourself in PolySypher, are you really even living? That's it for me, gamers. We'll catch you on the next one.